But where do you see, and I guess it's hard to say that because it isn't obvious. Where do you see places where this magic can happen?
Look, I suspect the kind of things that we've thought about is probably to say, look, where are the places where we look at the year ahead and you say, with everything that's happening in South Africa, with our abilities, our capacity, we talk a lot about capacity, as you know, of the state. What is it that perhaps we could actually cut this year because we are not likely to be able to achieve, we're not likely to spend. So, for example, I imagine we may say, for example, in some municipalities, we may need to grow some, we need to hire engineers in some municipalities, we need to do this and that. And so, or we need to train accountants. So we say, look, let's then postpone that expenditure or that allocation because we're not likely to be able to spend it because perhaps we haven't been able to spend in the previous year. So that's one area that might be important to think about and say, look, how is it that we could perhaps postpone some expenditure and that gives us a little bit of space? So that's one area that might be of consideration. But then at the same time, we also know that there are political implications here because there are local government elections coming up next year, so that may not be as practical. And then of course the hard areas. The minister has talked about restructuring. Now that's a long-term thing. So there's going to be some very, very hard choices, almost immediately. So I think it is this is the difficulty. But look, the minister, one thing that it was the previous budget he put in was his best effort. So perhaps we are looking now to the thinking of the political parties because the minister would have put up his best effort anyway. So let's hear what the political parties have to say outside of what the minister would have thought.
Impact to financial services. I mean, if you're with banks or you have money anywhere, you already start getting the notices about the impact of that VAT increase come the beginning of May. What do you see the impact as being? They've also got to scramble and change their messaging now, I guess. And how else does it affect them?
Sure. Look, I mean, economists usually talk about something called menu costs. And really that means that, every time you change the costs in a restaurant, you have to print a new menu. And we know that VAT is probably one of those things where people would have actually started to think about, changing their systems to be able to calculate the new VAT and to be able to pay it over to SARS as they receive it. So they have to now rethink that because I would have imagined that many people would have started to do that when they were messaging us, telling us that, your different service provider telling you about this, that they would have been actually restructuring their systems to be able to carry through the extra 0.5%. Now they have to probably change that, and I don't know at what cost that would have been. So that would be interesting to obviously to learn what that would have been like in terms of them actually restructuring their systems to be able to carry this new cost. So that is probably something that's quite likely that we're going to see some impact on. But generally, we know that this VAT, that everybody pays the VAT, collects the VAT on behalf of the receiver, and then pays it over to the receiver. So they're basically, all of them are an agent rather than anything else. So they don't make money from that, they're just an agent. And so it is